All right, in our last video, we made a couple of flat items like a hamburger bun or a patty or even a flat piece of cheese, and we practiced or learned how to set it up so it's easy to assemble. But other times in our fast food item, like a sandwich or a hamburger, we have things that have a little wave or a wrinkle to them, kind of like the lettuce or the bacon in this hamburger, or even three-dimensional stuff with these grooves like the pickle. So today we're going to learn how to make a couple of those. Let's start with bacon. So we're going to start apart. I'm going to draw the end of the bacon, like I'm looking straight at the end, the cross section of it. So I'm going to start on the side. I'm going to use that rectangle that I draw from the middle again. It's not super critical on this one, but since it's already selected, let's just go ahead and use it. And we're going to draw this, and we're going to make my bacon an inch wide and 1/10 of an inch thick. All right, so there we have my piece of bacon. We're going to finish that sketch. And now what we need to do is we have to draw a line perpendicular to this that waves out to the side. So I'm going to go to the origin and find a plane that's perpendicular, like this one right here. So that's a perpendicular plane. I'm going to make it visible just for this video so we can see where things are, and you can see that's perpendicular to it. So now I'm going to go make a new sketch on that perpendicular plane. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw a line. Okay, I go to my line tool, and this is just a guideline that's going to help me know how long to make my bacon, because I can't tell if this is an inch or 10 inches or what is on my screen here. I'm going to make this a construction line, so I'm going to click this little construction up here. I'm just going to start my line over here, doesn't really matter where, and I'm going to make it 4 inches long. And now I have that 4-inch line. You can see it down there, it's that little dotted line. And it's just for a guide, so that kind of tells me how big things are. And I'm going to turn off construction because I want to go back and actually draw. I'm going to do the spline tool now because I want the wavy bacon. So I'm going to start my spline tool right here at the origin, and I'm just going to give my bacon some wave. And I think we've got it good enough. We finish it off. Now sometimes if you get too much of a sharp corner, spline doesn't like it, so I'm going to straighten that guy out just a little bit down there at the end. Okay, looks like it's good. So we're going to finish that. I'm going to go ahead and turn that visibility off again so we can see what we're doing a little bit better. And now you can see we have this, the end of the bacon, and we have the path that we're going to follow when we do a sweep. So this is my profile, and there's my curve. And a lot of times it'll just find it for you. But if it doesn't, the profile is the rectangle, and the curve is the spline. And there's my piece of bacon. All right, so there's bacon. Of course, you can go select some sort of color that makes it so it looks more like bacon. But there you go. We'll let you play with the color. So let's go draw something else. Let's go draw the lettuce. We're going to do basically the same thing with the lettuce. Okay, so we're going to go back to home, make a new part. Okay, again, we want to make kind of a wavy piece here. And so I'm going to go with a new sketch. I'm going to start from the end, just like I did with the bacon. I'm going to do my same rectangle. Oops, gotta choose rectangle. And start it here at the origin. This time my hamburger, remember, was 4 inches wide. I want the bacon or the lettuce to be about the same. So this one I'm going to make a little bit bigger because it hangs off the edge just a little bit. So I'm going to make it 4.5 inches. And lettuce is really skinny. Maybe even skinnier than bacon, but we got to make it visible, so we're going to make it 0.1 again. And we're going to finish our sketch. So now we have the same thing, just like we had before. Okay, and we have to have that perpendicular plane, just like we did before. So that's this one. So I'm just going to go make a new sketch. I'm not going to make it visible because I think you guys can tell what we're doing. And now we have to draw this out. Again, I want it about 4.5 inches. So you can either kind of just guess what you're doing, or if you want to go make another line like I did last time, just to give you a guide. So I'm just going to make me a line along here, start it here, and go out 4.5 this time. Okay, and there's my dotted line. Turn off construction so I can draw my actual spline for my curve. And now I don't think lettuce is quite as curvy as bacon, so we'll just make 2 or 3 little curves in here and call that good. Okay, so now we're going to finish that sketch. We're going to go to sweep again. There's my profile, there's my curve. It found them both for me because Inventor is pretty helpful. And now I have this kind of wavy piece of lettuce. But it doesn't look much like lettuce, does it? Because it's kind of going crazy. So now we want to draw a new sketch on top of here. But if you right click, sometimes it won't work because it's a curve. So sometimes you have to go get that plane. Okay, now if it works for you, that's great. Like it looked like it was going to work for me. But look, this plane right here is to the top. So we're going to go get this here. We're going to make a new sketch because we've got to cut this to look like lettuce. So we're going to go make a spline like we have here, right? So you can get our spline tool. And this is the one where we're going to make the kind of crazy looking shape. So we're just going to go around the edges here. The lettuce doesn't follow a square or circular shape. It's just kind of a weird shape. Okay, so there's a lettuce. It's weird because the lettuce is curved, so it's like you lose some of that. But then we have to make a rectangle. And we just need to make this rectangle bigger than anything we have. Okay, so just start it here. It doesn't matter how big it is. It's just got to be bigger than. So then we have that bigger than. And now we're going to finish this sketch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude this piece on the outside. So we leave the stuff in the middle. So normally we do this in the middle. We're going to do this on the outside. So we're going to click that. We're going to cut it. And we're going to cut it in both directions because we kind of drew in the middle. So we want to cut it off so everything disappears. And then we say OK. And look, there we have our lettuce. Right? It's got a little curve to it. It's got a weird shape to it. And now what I do is color it green. And we've got lettuce. Okay, so I'll let you guys color it. And then our last thing we have to make is some pickles. Okay, so let's go make a new part. Again, we're going to draw a pickle. I'm going to look down at the top of the pickle. So I'm going to draw here on the top. Now the pickle, you can make just a round pickle, but I think pickles are a little bit odd shaped. Now again, how big is my pickle? If you don't know and you're not sure, make that rectangle. Just make a construction. Just click construction. Do your rectangle. Maybe we want 1 inch pickles. So we'll just put a 1 inch construction square just so we can have a guide. And then we can get our spline. And we'll just start here. And our pickles, you know, they aren't really weird shaped. They're kind of round because they come from a cucumber, right? There we go. So that kind of looks like a round pickle. So we're going to finish that. We're going to extrude him, probably not 1 inch. Maybe it's a little bit thicker than the others, so maybe let's make it 0.2. Well, that looks pretty darn thick. Let's make it 0.15. Good enough. Okay, so now here is my pickle, but I have to put those grooves in it. So again, I need some sort of plane that's cutting through. Either that one, not that one. One of these that cuts through it like that. Okay, doesn't matter which one. Let's just pick this guy. And we're going to make a new sketch. Now we do that new sketch, we're going to put some circles on it. Okay, so we're going to put a circle. We want the circle to be halfway through. So let's call this, I don't know, let's call it 0.075. Okay, so there's one. And then we're going to do another one on the bottom. And they don't have to line up perfectly. We'll make him the same size. And that's it. Okay, now we have to cut those. So we're going to extrude. We're going to extrude that, and then we're going to extrude that one on the bottom. So we have to kind of turn it over so we can see him. We're going to extrude that. Now again, we want to cut, because we're trying to cut those grooves. Okay, we want to cut both directions because we're in the middle. And then we just want to cut a long way. Doesn't really matter as long as it makes it to the outside. Right, look, there's those grooves starting to show up. And then we say OK. All right, so now we have to cut along this thing. We're going to pattern that. Okay, so we're going to do a rectangular pattern. So we're going to do these features, and then we have to look for a direction. So again, we kind of have to look at one of these planes. So we get the one that's perpendicular and click that. Okay, so go to the perpendicular plane, click it, and you can see how my stuff's showing up over here on the left. Now we want it to go to the right, so we're going to flip it, and we don't want it to go that far. So maybe, you know, like 0.15, about twice as far as our groove was. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then we need a bunch of them. And we don't know how many, so let's just guess 10. Oh, 10's way too many. But it doesn't matter, it's just going to cut nothing out of nothing. So we could actually do more than we need to, but that looks like enough. And we're going to say OK. And look at there, we have all kinds of grooves. Now look, we didn't cut it quite far enough, so we might have to go back. Remember this first extrusion that we did? We have to edit that feature. Oops, that wasn't the one. Cancel was our second extrusion, sorry. Edit that feature, and then that cut, we only went an inch. Let's go just a little bit farther, like 1.1, just to make sure we get far enough. And now look, that little piece went away. So you can always go fix if you make a mistake. And then it's kind of rough on these edges, right? We don't have the curve. We got a curve here, but not here. We could do a fillet. We could do a fillet right there. Now that's way too big, so let's just adjust this. And again, it's just kind of guess, 0.05, I don't know. That looks pretty good. And then you can click it on the other side and see how it starts to round off that pickle. You can make it as fancy as you possibly want. You can round these edges too if you want, right? It gets a little crazy in some of those. Okay, but look, it starts to round off that pickle. I don't know if I like those ones on the edge, so I might not do that. But these ones in the middle I think are really good. See those round parts? I think that looks better than these squared off parts. But none of it is required. Make it as nice and fancy as you want, or make it as simple as you want. It's still a pickle. And that's it. Color it green, or whatever color pickle you would like to have on your sandwich, and you are all good. I will come back in the next video and show you how to assemble these three things and put them on with your patty and your cheese that we made earlier.